Hello, 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 Trash Can Games here, and welcome to another thing called Gaming News. Anyway, for this video, I want to be talking about something that I'm really excited for when it comes to gaming. One of my favorite PSP games out there, Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, either which way you say it, it's finally being remade to modern consoles like PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, Switch, and PC. Oh my god, you guys I'm so excited because Crisis Core is a prequel to Final Fantasy VII, the original story. And I remember a good friend of mine showed me the trailer, and I was thinking, like, okay. Like, I thought that was just Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, because that's what they were making. And then I was thinking, like, then I was looking into it, I was like, wait a minute. It's got the word Crisis Core. Why would it have the words Crisis Core unless it means... it means everything. Because what was originally on the PSP is finally being re-released again in all of its glory. Even though the name is a little weird, it's a Crisis Core Final 7... Well, actually, it's not that weird. It's Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Which, I don't get the whole reunion part, but hey, I guess we're reuniting with Zack Fair. Zack Fair, my boy, let's go! Sorry for getting a little excited, but you guys have no idea how excited I am. Because a little bit of story time, back when I was a wee lad. Back in the day, I don't know how old I was. It was a little after my birthday, I was given a PSP. I remember that I went to one of my cousin's house. I went to my cousin's house, and my aunt's boyfriend at the time decided to give me a PSP. I don't remember what I did. My memory's a little joggy on that one. Either way, PSP, I didn't have to pay money for it, he just gave it to me for free. It had a few games on it, and one of them was Rainbow Siege or whatever, I don't really remember. I think it was a PSP first-person shooter. I never played it, it didn't even work anyway. It had a set of arcade games, it was like a PSP game, it was like a PSP disc, but it had like old school arcade games, like old Mortal Kombat, old Rampage, which was really good. Lancer, a lot of old games, and they were really good. I didn't get Final Fantasy wasn't in them. This is further in the story, because for some reason, because I was at my grandma's at the time, back a while ago, and like a long time ago, and she just told me, it's like, alright, you can have these, but you can't have the games. You can't take them home. You gotta leave them here, and I was like, well, that sucks. But whatever, I guess. So I did leave the PSP there, which was kind of sucky. I kind of forgot about it, actually. And then that Christmas, I got my PSP given to me. And not only did I have those arcade games, and I didn't have the Rainbow Siege given back to me, I had two other games. Two of them which were actually really good games. Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, which I actually really liked that. I sunk, I think... a lot of hours into that game. That game was actually really good. But I'm not talking about Monster Hunter, but I had that and Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII. And I saw that, I'm thinking like, oh, another Final Fantasy game. Because back in the day, I played Final Fantasy X, and I kind of figured like, okay, just traditional, confusing game, kind of turn-based RPG, which I liked Final Fantasy X back in the day, actually. I still do. It was my first Final Fantasy game. And I don't know which one, I think I played a Final Fantasy 12 maybe back in the day, but I didn't get into that one. I did play Final Fantasy 13. No, wait, did I play 13 after? No, it was after. I played that after Crisis Core. I remember now. Either way, I'm getting sidetracked. I got Crisis Core, and it blew my mind when it came to PSP games. Well, also, it was my first PSP in general. Either way, for those who don't know what Crisis Core is, like I said before, it's a prequel to the original story, and you play as a character named Zack Fair. He is a upgoing, energetic hero wannabe. He wants to be a hero, he wants to help people which I really like. And I remember seeing him in the intro and thinking like, oh, this guy's gonna be like your traditional like, oh yeah, I'm so cool, but he's like the cool but silent type, like he just fights. You know, I don't know what I was really expecting. And then at the intro, you just see how goofy he really is, and it's like, I'm gonna like this guy. Anyway, that's story time really on the whole getting Final Fantasy, and yeah, I'm really, really excited for this because this was one of my favorite PSP games. I think my favorite might actually be God of War Ghost of Sparta, which is a prequel to God of War 2, actually, because it takes place after 1. But I really liked that game, especially for the PSP. The graphics for that game was astounding. I didn't play it on the channel because that'd take too long, and I didn't want to play the PSP games. I was playing main storyline anyway. Well, it's either that God of War that is my favorite on the PSP, or what else was there? Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. I really like Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. Never played it on the PSP, but I played it on PS3 and PS4 and Xbox One. Good game. And you can tell it's a PSP game because it's pretty dated. But hey, it's remastered in a way. And by remastered in a way, it's remastered all the way. But anyway, for this video, I'm just going to be talking about, like, the stuff that I'm really excited for this remake. For the Crisis Core remake. What I'm really excited for is that, for one, it's coming back. I'm glad that it's finally coming back because the only way I was actually able to play it nowadays is through an emulator. And I don't like downloading emulators on my phone because my phones are always pieces of shit. I don't like, especially mine nowadays. My phone is having a spasm because fuck you. Sorry, I'm yelling at my phone. So I download it on my laptop, which is, I actually like that. I can use my controller for it, which is weird since PSPs, for those who don't know what PSP means, it's very easy to understand, but PSP literally meant PlayStation Portable. You carry it around and you play it on the go. It was a really fun system. I liked it. And Crisis Core was, for its time, really, really good. It's what impacted me on a lot of, like, storytelling games. Because this was back in the day before I was even really beating games. I don't think I even beat any game at that time. I don't remember. Maybe I beat God of War 3 back in the day, because that was actually the first game I've ever beaten. I've never beaten a single game until God of War 3, which, hey, cool game. But it's what really impacted me when it came to story games, and really just Final Fantasy games in general. Like I said, I played Final Fantasy X. There was a lot of stuff that I was very, very confused. I was also very, very young when I played that game. Like, very, very young. So there's a lot of stuff that I didn't understand. I mean, I understood a few bits of it, but not all of it. But Crisis Core is kind of what got me into the mythos. Well, not the mythos, but the stories in general. And more so on Final Fantasy VII as a whole, because that's what's introduced me to Final Fantasy VII. Because, disclaimer, like, forgive me, anyone out there, Final Fantasy VII fans, I never played the original back in the day. I didn't have it, which is, from what I know, is a gaming sin. Because everyone likes that game. But hey, you know what? I never played Final Fantasy VII back in the day. I played it before, the original. Not a bad game. A little weird, like, a little clunky. I need to get back into it one day. But yeah, that's one thing that, of course, that's a reason why I'm excited for it. It's because it's actually coming back. Because Final Fantasy VII is fine. It's fine. Of course, I haven't yet to play a lot of it, but Crisis Core is one of my all-time favorites. I say 10, Crisis Core, and 15 are pretty good. I played and beat 15. I never beat a single Final Fantasy game except 15. And 15's fine. Could be better. Okay, I'm getting sidetracked, and I need to stop that. Let's get to the main freaking point, please. But yeah, that's one reason why I'm excited for it. Another reason I'm excited for it is they're keeping the core combat, like the core gameplay, the same. For the original Final Fantasy VII, like, it was turn-based RPG in a way, and then the remake came and it was more, like, action, like, more, hack and slash in a way, like Kingdom Hearts. So I was kind of thinking, like, oh, since there's a remake, they're probably just gonna make it just like that. But no! Actually, they kept it almost the same. Because in the original, they were introducing the hack and slash for, like, more action-packed Final Fantasy titles back in the day. This game came out in 2007. You had a little bit of a menu for attacking, going to magic, going to your items and all that, which was really cool. And it also had, like, a little bit of a, like, on the top right, on the top left corner, it would have a, kind of like a casino slot machine. Like, it was basically a luck slots to see what would happen to help your chances in battle. It was all luck based, but it was so good if you got something really, really good. It was very helpful when you got something good out of it. But I am happy to say that for the remake, they're keeping that the same. From what I've seen, everything looks the same. It's also been years since I played the game, so... And what I'm really looking forward to is maybe updated combat and controls, because the original, from what I remember, like, I remember playing it back in the day on the emulator, it's a little clunky, especially on a controller, because you can't use the thumbstick. So hopefully they have updated controls for the combat and all that. I'm very hopeful they will do that, because that'd be pretty stupid if they didn't. But I'm just really, really glad that they are keeping the core combat the same, because that's kind of what made that game kind of special in its own way. It was its combat system. Another thing that I'm excited for, and that is from what I've seen in the trailer, everything looks like it's very faithful. Because from what I've heard of Final Fantasy VII Remake, it changes up the story tremendously. Which, I don't mind that, as long as you keep the core story there, and not change it too much. At least, that's how I think of it. Because I'm pretty sure, kind of like the Resident Evil remakes. Don't make it exactly the same. You, of course, make your own little interpretation of it, but still keep it the same as, the original when it comes to, storytelling. From what I know in Final Fantasy VII, it has its own plots and twists, which I think is fine. I've never played the game before, so I can't really judge the remake or the original. But from what I've seen in the trailer of the Crisis Core remake, it looks like they're keeping everything the same. From dialogue to cutscenes to animations, everything looks almost identical to the original release. And that is what makes me happy, because Crisis Core is it's something special to me in a way, that seeing it kind of change drastically would kind of hurt me a little. And that sounds a little dramatic, but I really like that game. Ugh, I just want to go into the emulator right now and just play it right now. But I have other stuff to do tonight, so I can't just play the game, sadly. And here's another thing I do want to talk about, and it's more of a minor nitpick, but I'll deal with it, and that's Zack's voice. Because the main character, Zack Fair, I love Zack Fair to death. I don't like his new voice actor. I really don't like it, because his original voice actor for the original Crisis Core was Rick Gomez. I think that's his name, right? Rick Gomez? Yeah, he played Zack in the Crisis Core. He played him in the movie Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. He was in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, because in the Hercules level, Zack is there. He is trying to be a hero, because that's his thing. And it's so funny how in that game, because that game was on the PSP, and so was Crisis Core. So, PSP game, you get the connection. I'm really excited. It was very funny, especially the part where Zack goes to Aqua, one of my favorite Kingdom Hearts characters, and he's like, "How about one date?" Which is his classic line when it comes to girls, because he's a ladies' man, and I love him. He's funny. He's a goofball, and nothing really goes his way. But yeah, like I was saying, I don't like his new voice actor. I don't know who the new voice actor is, but it's clearly not Rick Gomez. And I don't want to be too judgmental, because maybe I'll like him toward the game, because Rick Gomez isn't what makes Zack. It's his character and personality that makes him that way, and his story. I don't want to spoil anything, because I really think this is a game worth playing. Of course, it's a little dated, but it's worth playing, and I don't want to spoil anything. But hearing this new voice is like, that's not the original voice. And I remember the original voice. The original voice was cool. I really liked the original voice. But I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it. It's a minor nitpick. Also, another thing I do want to mention is that from what I've heard, they're gonna be changing up a little bit of the music and maybe adding a bit some new music, which sounds like a big crime to me usually, because I love the original music. In fact, yeah, I love the music in Crisis Core, but hearing the trailer and hearing like the redone version of Controlling the Iron Beast, which, if you guys haven't heard that theme, Controlling the Iron Beast, look it up on Google, Spotify, whatever, and look up that song. It is so good. It's got that rock and roll vibe, but not like classic rock, but like kind of metal vibe. I love the guitar riffs, and it's so good. But yeah, it sounds like sounds like for the trailer they did like a redo version of that song, and that song is for the trailer it was really good. I actually really liked it. It's probably gonna have like the Nier Replicant treatment, because in the Nier Replicant remaster, remake, whatever you want to call that, I'm gonna call it a remake, they redid the music completely, which I know a lot of people were pretty upset by that, and I can understand that, but I really like the original. I like the original soundtrack, and I like the new music. I think I'm gonna like the new music a lot more, because the PSP music is a little choppy, if you know what I mean, because it's a PSP. The hardware, as good as it was for its time, isn't the best, and sound quality isn't the best either. Everything sounds weird. I mean, have you guys heard Kratos talk in Soul Calibur Broken Destiny?
I will make you suffer!
But yeah, the audio's a little weird, but you know what? I think with the new with new music, it's gonna be better. But either way, I just wanted to talk about this because I love Final Fantasy VII, Crisis Core. I keep saying Final Fantasy VII because I keep saying Final Fantasy VII on everything because Final Fantasy. And I'm not even that big of a Final Fantasy fan. I like Final Fantasy, but I've never played all of the games. That's the thing. But anyway, yeah, I'm so excited for Crisis Core Remake. And maybe I'll do a video on that whenever it comes out, because it's coming out this winter. There's no release date. All I know is that it's coming out this winter. That's what they said. It's coming out for PC, so I'll definitely get it on PC. I'm not gonna get it on my Xbox. But PC, yeah, I'm definitely gonna get that. And I'll maybe do a video on it, like a little bit of gameplay. But, oh my god, for those who, if you guys haven't played Crisis Core, and you want to play it now, I highly recommend it. Nowadays, you gotta have to download an emulator, which is, I can understand, some people don't like doing emulators. I don't really care for emulators. I don't like emulating, but by all means necessary. If you want to play it, yeah, definitely I recommend emulating it. It's free. The game's not that big, and by big I mean like space-wise. It's like, I think it's less than a gigabyte. It's easy to do. I'm not gonna do an emulating tutorial, but play the game. I really recommend it. Or if you guys want to wait until the remake comes out, definitely, I think it's gonna be worth it. I am so hyped, so excited, and I hope the remake lives up to the original. And I'm really planning on just playing the original, just so I can compare the original to the remake, because that's what I did with Nier. Nier, because when Nier Replicant was coming out, I bought the original Nier just to kind of see what I was getting into, and it was better. That was a better experience. Of course, I played Crisis Core already before the original, but just to play it again, because I really need to. It's one of my favorite PSP. It's probably my favorite PSP game out there. But either which way, I think this will do it for this video. Let me know what you guys thought on the comments below, and how you guys feel about my opinions on it. Leave a like, subscribe to watch more content like this, ring the bell to get notified, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Later, and goodbye.